Everybody, this is the Week 7 edition of this Swolecast. Here, Fantasy Insiders, we have Davis Maddock, Dan Gasper, a.k.a. Mr. Tuttle 05, and myself, David Kitchen, a.k.a. Soccer Dave, and we're with Evan. Evan, are you there?
Are you guys ready for Ladarius Green week?
Yes.
We are. And also, Mettenberger and Cash is all I know. So...
No, dude, we're not wasting.
We're not even
talking
wasting
about
time on
terrible
this.
QBs. Yeah, don't play
Okay.
him. There's your advice.
Okay. If you think he's not an option on FanDuel, you just take all my head-to-heads, Davis. Take all of them.
Don't like.
I will
don't
legitimately
tempt me,
do that.
Kitchen. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, obviously there are two main quarterbacks, so we'll talk about them in a second. Let's talk about news, though. Evan, you referred to the Antonio Gates news where it looks like he has an MCL sprain, hasn't practiced for 3 days, and I doubt he goes. So if you were a donkey and played him in Thursday night contest, he was about 30% owned. You're not loving life right now.
Yeah, so he has a sprained left MCL. That's usually a multi-week injury. It's possible that Antonio Gates tries to play through that injury. His effectiveness would become a significant concern. I think our hope from a DFS standpoint is that we get word Sunday morning that Antonio Gates will not play, and then we can play Ladarius Green, who I think would become cash game viable. I was talking to JM to win earlier today. He told me that Ladarius Green is 2,900 on DraftKings, which is just insane. And his price actually isn't that great on FanDuel. It's only, I think, 200 less than what Gates was. But I think he's worth it. I think he becomes a great cash game play, and I think he's a great tournament play as well.
Yeah, I know that Mr. Toto 05, you are also very high on Ladarius, stemming from yesterday.
Yeah, and I have a little different approach from Evan on that. As soon as I saw the news last night, I got pretty excited because I knew he would still be heavily owned in Thursday night contest. So that was good, especially if he's out. I'll have a leg up there. But I even think Sunday morning you can play a little game theory here and play Ladarius Green even if we're not sure of Gates' status in the morning. I'd actually prefer him to be a game time decision because I think what that will do is that will drive ownership off of Ladarius Green. It would probably drive ownership off Gates as well, obviously, but it will drive it off Ladarius Green. And then even if Gates goes, we're probably looking at 70 to 75% of the snaps for Ladarius Green anyways. So I'd actually prefer not getting the information until later because I think that would drive Green's own percentage down.
Yeah, the other thing we have to watch out is the Arizona Cardinals and the wide receiver situation. Davis, what are you seeing for the Cardinals this weekend?
Well, John Brown, I guess, had a hamstring issue in practice yesterday, but it also, I think Dan told me earlier, it's something he's dealt with for a couple weeks. So it doesn't sound like he's like threatening not to play. Like, I think he'll probably be active for sure. I mean, maybe it was something to be a little bit, avoid it in Thursday start cash, but I think it's looking like he's going to be a really solid option this week. Like, I don't expect him to be inactive or anything.
Evan, if you are there, can you comment on the wide receiver situation in Arizona? Evan
so his connection is blown.
Yes, he's got that Vic and Cash connection. I
think you asked me about the Cardinals wide receivers, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so I like all three of them, and I know that sounds hedgy, but I really do like all three of them. I think that you can play any of them, and they're all good plays, including Michael Floyd, who's just above minimum. His price didn't change at all this week on FanDuel after he had a game where I think he had 50 yards and a touchdown. He had several more touchdown chances. Carson Palmer was targeting him a lot in the end zone, and he played 75% of the snaps, a season high, 8 targets, another season high. I think that he is still our punt play wide receiver of the week. Larry Fitzgerald is the wide receiver 2 overall in fantasy. Great matchup. We don't really know who the Ravens slot corner is going to be. All we know is that he's not going to be good, and that's what matters. Jimmy Smith, per Pro Football Focus, Jimmy Smith is theoretically the Ravens' best cornerback. Per Pro Football Focus, he has allowed the most receiving yards in the entire league this year. This is a guy who got paid in the offseason, had a Liz Frank fracture last year. It's just, who are you going to decide to work in your lineup, and what makes the lineup fit the best, I think. How does your lineup work the best? I would like to get Tuttle's take on, would you be willing to play 2 Cardinals wide receivers in cash, because they're all great prices still, at least on FanDuel. I would be willing to play 2 of them if I'm going with Palmer in cash. But I wanted to get Tuttle's take on if that's an okay way to go.
I don't think it's a horrible move. I don't think I'll be doing it personally, because I do like a lot of the kind of mid-tier receivers in Moncrief, Eric Decker. So I think I'll go that way, but I don't think it's a bad play by any means. It's certainly a highly volatile play. If the unexpected happens and Carson Palmer obviously tanks, then you're looking a little more in trouble than you would if you just had 1 wide receiver on your team. But if Carson Palmer
tanks and you paid up for him already, you're kind of already screwed, right?
Kind of, but I guess you're extra screwed if you take two wide receivers.
Your floor gets lower. Gets lower.
Exactly.
And that's kind of the issue this week is the Cardinals, the Jets, and the Colts all have viable receivers, more than 1 receiver, and it's just a matter of figuring out what you're going to do with those 3, at least on FanDuel. But on DraftKings, we have to set a team. Should mention our DraftKings team last week was absolute fire. I had the Lamar Miller play thanks to Tutskis.
People were complaining about it, man. People were complaining about that team. It was
had the Kaepernick play, and thanks to Kitchen, and had the Calvin Johnson play thanks to Evan. So
all of my picks were bad. All of my picks were really bad.
That's true.
Yeah, let's not do Dwayne Harris again.
Yeah.
Todos con Dwayne.
Preston Parker, number 2.
Gosh, that was a terrible take.
I prefer to think of him as Kendall Wright North.
All right. FanDuel got wrecked by Adrian Peterson, but DraftKings did really well, and it cashed. So let's go ahead and start. Evan, you get first pick.
Okay. Let's start with Ladarius Green. And you'll
I like it. Yeah, I want to pick because I want to get it out of the way before anyone gets Freeman on this team. I want to address a topic in chat. What do we do with Julio Jones because we have so much Devontae Freeman in cash? I think Julio Jones is a great GPP play because of how high owned Freeman is going to be. So I'm going to go and take Julio Jones.
Yo, I got another sick wide receiver. Tournament play. Don't take him, Davis.
Okay.
We got plenty of room, Kyle.
I'll take.
Okay, hold up. Hey, Davis. Before you pick, Dave, can you agree not to take Zach Mettenberger?
I will not take Mettenberger.
Right now.
I will not take Mettenberger, but I think he's the tits this week. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I wasn't going to give Kitchen a chance to ruin the team the way he has last couple weeks, so I will be taking Cameron Newton, who has crazy upside week to week. Gets the pace.
No.
Yeah, dude.
No,
Cam Newton is an excellent tournament play every single week because the matchup doesn't matter. The matchup doesn't matter. He gets his.
Okay, I actually am going to agree with Davis. Not on the first part
Well,
because
that's not what you want. That's not what you
because
want.
my picks last week were fire, and he said Dwayne Harris was a good play even if Odell Beckham was playing, which was just silly. So Cam Newton though is an excellent leverage play on both sides because he's in the same price point as Carson Palmer and Phillip Rivers, and he
just destroyed Seattle. He literally just had 3 80-yard touchdown drives against Seattle in Seattle.
I don't hate
He's
it.
good.
I like it, David.
He's good.
I like it. All right, so I'm just going to go chalk and go Gurley. I mean, I know we want to fade him because it's a GPP, but as we saw with DeAndre Hopkins last week, sometimes fading a guy who's chalky doesn't work out. So I'll go with Gurley as a running back. Who's that hot
Mike
take
Evans.
wide receiver? Oh,
Mike Evans.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
I like it.
I love it.
This
Get
is actually
some,
turning
young
out
fella.
to be like a Davis team.
This is a team.
We need Moncrief. We need Moncrief
Yeah,
next.
We do.
Well, I'll leave Moncrief open for Davis. I'm going to take a guy who's going to be completely underowned. I'll let Davis explain his downside because I know Davis isn't 100% on this pick. I'm going to go Latavius Murray.
Ooh. Ooh.
I think that his downside is really obvious. Just that last week, or 2 weeks ago when they were off, because they had last week off with the bye, but he just got benched because he wasn't running well. And that's fine. That happens. And that's why, I think people who are on him in cash are not accounting for that downside. But he is a really, really good tournament play. And, I think he's on the periphery for cash, but I also think he's probably a little bit overpriced given the lack of stability. At first his role was really good and they just kept him in and it didn't matter. But he has, the shoulder injury and then he wasn't running well. But I'll make my pick Martavis Bryant, actually.
What? Dude,
Yeah.
what?
Evan is not loving
What are
this
you
team
doing?
at all.
He wanted Moncrief so mad right there.
Why
but-
are we not using Moncrief?
We can still get
'Cause I
Moncrief.
have him. We still can, bro.
Well,
Yeah,
if we would, I mean, that wouldn't
would
be
be-
ideal with how we'd spend.
Yeah, so if you went, let's just say we went with Rams defense
Chalk
at
you the chalk.
2,400.
You'd go with the other Colts wide receiver in that case, which would be Hilton.
The flex spot, you have T.Y. Hilton as the next highest flex spot. And I know that Tuttle will be down with that. And, yeah, that's what I'll do. So that's our team. Cam Newton, Todd Gurley, Latavius Murray, Julio Jones, Mike Evans, Martavis Bryant, Ladarius Green, T.Y. Hilton, and Rams. This is totally a GPP team. So we'll
This team
see.
is terrible.
Evan hates it.
It's not terrible. It's not terrible.
This is not.
but
I don't think it's
not,
bad.
It's not at all
It's
close
not a
to a
safe
cash
team.
team.
No.
Yeah, no. Everything
Davis,
about it was
Davis.
tournament.
Davis, I love you, man, but your picks were horrible.
No,
All right,
you-
let's move
Who
forward.
did I take?
Yeah, let's move
I took
forward.
2 good picks.
Let's have Silva address
You did.
Cam Newton specifically. We had a question in chat with Cam Newton. Why are you so down on him this week?
That's going to be a really low-scoring game. That's if you look at it from a gambling perspective, that is a classic game where, the Seahawks or the Panthers are coming off an emotional win and they're going to come back home and let down.
Don't you
That's going to be like a
narrative
17 to
that,
14
bro.
game. That's going to be a 17 to 14 game, and this lineup isn't even going to cash. Martavis
Cam
Bryant is a
scored.
point-chasing pick.
No, it's not.
We don't want to start wide receivers with Landry Jones as their quarterback.
Oh, I'm so tilted, Evan.
I'm sorry, Davis. This is bad.
Martavis is just Cam Newton is tournament only. Martavis is a legitimate option this week. He played more snaps in the last game than he played at any point last year. Antonio Brown is getting no targets from Landry Jones. They shouldn't even have it in the playbook because that connection is never
In our 1 quarter sample size.
No,
Come
I'm
on,
just saying.
Davis. All right.
I'm saying Antonio Brown is a
right,
timing route guy, and Jones can't throw those at all.
all right.
Okay, let's just move forward.
forward. Yeah, let's move forward. We're gonna foster a positive work environment, and like I said, to be fair, we picked
Andrew Jones is awful. He's awful.
I'm an OU fan.
He's
I watched him for
freaking
3
horrible.
years. He's terrible.
Oh, all right. Let's get back onto the quarterback situation. All right, Evan, you got to pick one: Carson Palmer or Phillip Rivers. Who's it going to be?
Palmer 1, Rivers 2. I think that they're both awesome plays. I went back and forth all week with them, and then the Gates news, put me on Palmer. I also like Mettenberger as I think he's a sneaky play on FanDuel Cash. If you want to differentiate yourself a little bit from the Rivers and Palmer crowds. In 6 starts last year, he had 3 multiple touchdown games. I think he's a good quarterback. I mean, I think he could start for 10 teams in the NFL today. The Titans losing Harry Douglas upgrades his weapons. The defense isn't very good. The defense can't rush the passer. The main deficiency that Zach Mettenberger has is he's not very athletic. He doesn't move too well in the pocket, but he can deliver the football. And if he has time to deliver the football, he's going to be out there throwing strikes. Hopefully he doesn't test Desmond Trufant too much. I think Delanie Walker has a chance at a big game. I think Kendall Wright is solid. And we're going to see a lot of Dorial Green Beckham. Dorial Green Beckham is a freakazoid talent, man. And I'm excited to see what he can do. I don't know if I'm going to start him in DFS this week because I think he'll be matched up with Trufant at least half the time. But he is a tree, and he can run, and he can make contested catches, and he can jump over people. And I'm excited to see more of him. So those are the 3 quarterbacks that I'm primarily looking at. But I also think that Derek Carr is in play as a GPP option. Was solo owned in the Thursday bomb, I think 2.5%. He had a 4 touchdown game against San Diego last week. I think that game has shootout potential. They don't seem to have a lot of faith in Latavius Murray. And I think Crabtree could have a big game as well.
You and I are on the same quarterbacks, Evan, but also another guy who's expensive. So the 2 sites are interesting because DraftKings has the softest pricing it's had all season, and maybe even since last year when it was really soft. FanDuel, their pricing is not soft. So I definitely think that Mettenberger is more of a play on FanDuel than DraftKings. But on DraftKings, he's still minimum salary. However, there's another guy that I know some of the other Team FI guys like, and it's a Mr. Andrew Luck. And Dan, I'll let you talk about him.
Yeah, Luck's my cash game play. I think my top cash game play if you can fit him in.
Oh wow.
The problem is roster construction's especially hard with him, especially on FanDuel, where even just the $700 that Carson Palmer provides in relief makes it the lineup construction a little easier. I think with this Antonio Gates news, though, Antonio Gates to Ladarius Green is exactly a $700 drop-off, which is what you need to get from Carson Palmer to Andrew Luck. So it might work out where you can play Luck in cash games after all if you go Ladarius Green. But yeah, I like Luck quite a bit. The matchup's obviously a good one against New Orleans. Davis can tell you a little bit more stats. I know I read in his article, Davis outlined him on just how many times Luck typically throws in a game. It's a shitload, we'll just say that. But I'll let Davis give you the more specifics on that.
Yeah, I mean, Luck has to be in a really, really good spot for me to feel comfortable writing him up and recommending him as the top guy of the week, because I don't actually think Luck is all that great, because he turns the ball over a lot. He holds the ball out too far. He doesn't have great pocket awareness. He turns the ball over a lot. But he's Brett Favre, and that's fine. But so the stat that I've dug up is that in his career, he's only had 12 games with 30 or fewer attempts. Like if you just go like look at the game logs of like all your like any quarterback, you're going to have a hard time finding a guy who throws less per game than Andrew Luck. The Colts have an implied total of 28 points, and the team has 3 rushing touchdowns to 11 passing touchdowns this year. So any sort of market share projection would actually put Luck at 3 touchdowns for this game. And knowing what we know about the Saints secondary, which is that it's bad up and down, Luck is going to miss throws. There are going to be 3 and outs. It's going to be frustrating because in addition to already being prone to turnovers due to decision making, I think he is a little injured right now, and that's causing him to miss some throws he can normally make. But I just think that the volume and the matchup is just going to be there. I have Palmer in cash, but Luck I think scores the most points at the position this week.
Luck Moncrief stack.
Yeah, that's the nails. Like Moncrief is gonna just absolutely eat this week, and Luck
Moncrief
obviously as well.
is leading the Colts in targets with Luck at quarterback, or he's tied with Hilton, but that's good. That's good enough for us. He's priced significantly less than Hilton. He scored a touchdown in every single one of Andrew Luck's starts. And I think he's going to primarily be matched up with Brandon Browner, who is the last graded cornerback in Pro Football Focus's grades. And Delvin Breaux is a stud at left corner, and I think he's going to primarily be against T.Y. Hilton. Love Moncrief so much this week. I think he's cash game viable, and another guy who he was 15% in the Thursday bomb, so that's fine for me. I think he's a great tournament play.
All right, let's get to a few questions, and then we'll start with running backs. And we'll use some of these questions to go into running backs. Cash game, small tournament, Bell or Freeman? Davis, I'll let you take that.
I mean, Freeman is the odds-on favorite to finish the year as running back 1. Like I think every game he's just going to get so many touches. And even when he's not getting the rushing attempts, he's had at least 3 receptions in every single game, even the ones that Tevin Coleman was the nominal starter. The Pittsburgh offense is not going to be good this week. The only reason I'm on Bryant is for tournaments is, big play ability. And I think that his game fits well with bad quarterbacking much more than Brown. So I have to say Freeman over Bell, but obviously there's a ton of value in tournaments and Bell being less than 10, 12% owned.
Yeah, I think Bell is okay. Just his price tag is a little too high for his ceiling. However, Evan, what are your thoughts on Big Ben coming back? Have they if you gave a percentage, what would it be?
I think all indications are that it is very slim chance, but the fact that there is a chance, should keep us monitoring the situation. And then Davis's pick of Martavis Bryant would look a lot better because we'd have a legitimate NFL quarterback there, delivering the football to the guy that we're investing money into, our money. Otherwise it doesn't make sense at all. So I think it's a very small chance, but there is a chance. So, let's keep an eye on it, and something that we'll have to watch into Sunday morning.
Yeah, this kind of reminds me of the Cutler situation a couple weeks back.
Yeah.
We have a question. Any merit to Matt Jones as a GPP punt running backs flex on DraftKings? I don't think you have to go there. A GPP play is a tournament play, meaning that anything could go off. They did say that he could be the third down back, a potential to be a third down back, but I think especially as a GPP or punt play, you would want one of those min-sal wide receivers, and I just don't think with DraftKings salaries this week that you have to do that. Another question talked about Doug Martin or CJ2K or Freeman or Gurley as GPP plays, as tournament plays. I'd like to get your thoughts. We'll start with you, Tuttle, on Doug Martin this week, because we all know kind of we're not going to spend too much time on running back because it's Freeman, Gurley, and Lamar Miller. But other than those guys, some of these tournament plays like Doug Martin are viable plays.
Yeah, Martin's a fine play. I think he's much more attractive on DraftKings where he's $4,900 than on FanDuel where I think he's like $7,200. So I'd be more prone to play Doug Martin over there on DraftKings, but he's a fine play for both formats.
Evan, your thoughts? You like Mike Evans? Like, do you think that the Bucks defense or the Bucks offense going to get together this week?
I like Mike Evans as a GPP play. They are coming off a bye. If you remember, Mike Evans started his rookie season slowly early in the year as well. Went on to I think score 12 TDs over the Bucks last 12 games. He missed all of camp with a rookie quarterback, so we really should have been anticipating a little bit of a slow start for Mike Evans. He leads the Bucks in targets since he has returned. We saw what Brandon Marshall did to the Redskins last week. We saw what Eric Decker did. Decker should have had a much bigger day than he did. He had 2 drops. He had another play where he was tackled at the 1-yard line. I mean, the Redskins have played like they've overachieved on defense considering their secondary personnel. But I think that's starting to catch up to them right now. I think that Winston plus Mike Evans should be in play as a GPP approach. We've seen, I think the Millie Maker was won by last week Stafford plus Calvin, and the week before I want to say it was Bortles plus Allen Robinson. So I think, or maybe Allen Hurns and Allen Robinson or something like that.
Those Hearns.
You would know better than me. Okay, yeah. So cheap quarterbacks, there's a little bit of a trend there that cheap quarterbacks have been winning some GPPs, and I think that's in play. If the Bucks can't get their running game going, we will see a lot of attempts from Winston. He has a big arm. He's willing to chuck it, and Mike Evans coming off this bye with his price down, I think is really attractive.
Any love for Woodhead this week? We'll start with you, Davis. That was a question that we got with the issues they've had at running back, with injuries, with fumbles, and you think they're throwing the ball. How does Woodhead factor in at all with your lineup construction?
I think that just the way it's running back is so difficult this week because you have such one stone cold lock. So your universe of guys that you're considering playable is so much smaller. Like I think Woodhead is fine. I think he'll get his 5 catches and 6 to 8 carries and his red zone chances. But, the ceiling is never high with Woodhead in the sense that you're never getting the 100-yard bonus. In his entire career, he has three plays of greater than 20 yards. And he gets the work in the red zone, but really the only way you're winning a tournament with him is if he scores 2 touchdowns, which, obviously he can, but if we're all so heavy on the tight ends this week, it just kind of doesn't make a ton of sense to me that he would be a core play this week.
Settle, any outside of the box running back plays that you like other than Freeman, Gurley, Miller? We've talked about AP a little bit in the chat as far as your thoughts. I'd like if you kind of shared that with the Swolecast crew.
Yeah, one quick comment on Woodhead is Melvin Gordon has been limited in practice the last 2 days. He's showing up as questionable on the injury report. That would obviously mean more work for Woodhead if Gordon is unable to go. So I think he could be someone that you throw in your flex spot on DraftKings and try to follow that situation. The problem is there's not a whole lot of other options at that price range for the late games. So you might get stuck taking someone in a less than desirable situation. But he's a guy that I think is worth keeping an eye out. As far as sneaky running backs go, you mentioned Adrian Peterson. I like him a lot. I know people are going to be off of him because of last weekend, but it's a good matchup with the Lions. He shredded the Lions defense earlier this year. He would have had a huge game that game too. I think he had 2 fumbles that game. Missed a couple of easy red zone opportunities as well, and he got
vultured inside the 5-yard line by Bridgewater, Zach Line, and Kyle Rudolph.
Yep, there you go. And had 2 fumbles and still scored about 20 FanDuel points. So you know the upsides there for Adrian Peterson. He was less than what 3% owned in Thursday night contest, I think.
He was 4%.
There you go. So I think he's
It's a
a
great
very
week for
very
him
good.
in GPP.
Yep, especially
is.
because of Freeman's high own percentage too, and Adrian's only 200 more than Peterson or Adrian's only 200 more than Freeman on FanDuel, so he's a great play off of Freeman for tournaments.
An interesting way to differentiate in tournaments would be to go, instead of Freeman, would be to go Peterson plus Gurley plus Julio.
Yep.
Yeah, I could see that. Your boy Adam Levitan also had to take that Julio outscores Nuck this week. So I think they're
No, why did you just say that?
okay. Well, I
It's-
didn't.
That was
I
so
didn't say-
Soleil.
It's new.
It's so Soleil.
Nuck.
We
Call him
have
Nuck, you knucklehead.
friend of the show, Adam Levitan. He tweeted out that he likes to listen to us every week. Christine Michael is pretty risky for cash on DraftKings, but is he really? Jordy 3000 writes. How many points does he have to score to meet value? Because that salary opens a ton of options. Talk me out of starting him in cash. Aha. Okay. I will let Evan talk about Kristen Michael from just a talent / fantasy perspective. All I'll say is that salaries are so soft on DraftKings. It really takes someone not smart to create a dumb lineup this week on DraftKings. I feel like playing Michael in cash games would be one of those not smart options. There's just no need to risk it. Evan, but I'll let you talk about his potential in this game for tournaments.
Complete now wave on C Mike. Sorry.
Yep.
I tweet out Leviton's podcast, twice a week, and he only tweeted out our show once, so he needs to step it up a little bit. C Mike, bad game flow, uncertain workload, doesn't play in the passing game. No.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree with that. Let's get on to wide receivers, and I think that's really what people are wanting to know this week is wide receivers. Seems like we know we're doing at quarterback. We know we're doing at running back. It's the wide receiver position that is throwing us off a little. So, Evan, I'll go ahead and let you start with the wide receivers.
I love the wide receivers this week so much.
No, it's
All
a
of them,
sick.
all of them.
And they're all like actually good wide receivers, not bad wide receivers in good spots. They're like it's like
Yeah.
picking between my children this week.
Your child.
Who-
Your singular.
Stop.
Julio against Bleedy Ray, and I'll leave it at that. Although I don't even think that he's going to see much of Bleedy Ray. I think he'll go against Jason McCourty, but it doesn't really matter. He's such a good GPP play this week. All the Cardinals, it's just who can you fit in. They're all great plays. Moncrief talked about him. Decker, we talked about him. Crabtree is a guy who I think is really overlooked and is really affordable. He cost $5,900 on FanDuel. He has more targets from Derek Carr this season than Amari Cooper. His matchup is much better than Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is going to run most of his routes against Jason Verrett, who's a stud, whereas Crabtree will run most of his routes against Brandon Flowers, who is a guy who's given up a ton of touchdown passes this year. Mike Evans, we talked about him. Kendall Wright, I don't think is a terrible play. Pierre Garcon, I don't think is a terrible play. I know, I know you hate him this week. But I mean, those are the guys that I'm looking at. I mean, Willie Snead makes sense on DraftKings for sure because it looks like Brandon Cooks primarily plays on the outside. I mean, he does move. All those guys move around a ton, but Willie Snead will get a lot more chances against Darius Butler, who's a sieve, and Greg Toller, who is actually not as bad as people think he is, but he's not like a shutdown corner. Like he'll give up a lot of catches, you know. So Willie Snead makes a lot of sense on DK. I mean, I think that I think that Willie Snead leads the Saints in catches this week and maybe the rest of the season.
Evan, there was one guy who you did not mention that if you did mention him, I was just going to explode.
Who?
And I told you last week that J-Matt would never be an option on this show again if he burned us, and he did. So I'm glad.
He went
with
6
all
for
those
69, man. He went 6 for
Stop.
69. That's not that
Stop.
bad.
Don't even.
Why has he
wasn't
dropped
that
so
bad.
many passes? What is his deal?
He didn't
Dude,
really
he's
drop
a-
that
He's
many
a
passes last
basket
week.
case, man. He's a basket case.
He is a basket case. He is.
It's like it's
His
all.
quarterback.
He is.
It's like I
His
can't.
quarterback.
His quarterback is terrible. Bradford is terrible.
Skinny knees,
really
man.
is.
He got to be. He has to be benched. He has to be benched. It's got to be done. These interceptions he's throwing are inexcusable, dude. Like these are interceptions that Landry Jones would watch and be like, "Bro, come on."
And
Stop it,
J-Matt's
Davis.
hands. J-Matt's hands was not
Stop.
the problem last week. It was.
Yeah,
It was
he dropped a pass that would have gone for 18 yards. He lost a fumble.
The
You know, like
fumble,
he's
but
playing.
he was
He's a
like-
slot receiver and he needs to play tough and protect the football.
hey, I'm with
You
you.
know, like
Tough love right
he
now.
plays in a lot of traffic. And he'll get it together at some point. And you know, this is the week that we're all going to be off him. I'm off of him. And
It's
he
a
probably goes
primetime
off
game.
this week.
It's an
Yeah.
island game. That's what sucks, is that it's an island game. Monday night's game is going to be awesome. However, there's only two. The Tilt slate, the Tilt Interlate contest slate, is going to be terrible because it's
Yeah.
only 2 afternoon games and then this Sunday night game, and then pretty much all the Monday game.
How about Travis Benjamin? I threw him in a GPP lineup in the Thursday lock on FanDuel. What do you think, Tuttle? His targets are sick the last month.
I think that the Browns are just going to get absolutely obliterated, just destroyed. This is going to be.
I do too.
This is what I can't remember if it was Stacy or the other Rams back. This is that. This is the running back.
Trey Mason versus the Raiders.
Yeah, Trey Mason versus the Raiders. This is that week. This is the Todd Gurley Rams stack of this year as compared to the Mason Rams stack of last year. That's exactly what's going to happen.
Total, that was when you tweeted there's a pick six coming, and
right.
and then it happened. You remember that? It was when Schaub was in the game.
Oh my
So
God,
dude.
They
That
will
was
have
a great week.
They kept giving.
He was.
That next morning, I woke up in a new Bugatti. That next morning.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That week was straight paper.
It was.
All
But
right,
that's
let's talk
this
about
week. And unfortunately, DraftKings is just giving away the Rams defense. Everybody's going to have them, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But anyways.
I mean, yeah, the pricing, so I feel like even Nate Washington is like a good option on DraftKings, but you don't need him. You don't need to find like a Minsell guy because there's already you've already got John Brown. Like if you wanted somebody, you've already got Ladarius Green. You have depressed pricing for 2 really good running backs, so you don't even need to
Michael
take
Floyd.
those.
If you really need to go deep, Michael Floyd, 3,200 on DraftKings, 4,900 on FanDuel.
I said John Brown. I meant Michael Floyd as that 3,200 option. But FanDuel is a little different because the wide receivers are all and wide receivers from the same team are all in the same spot. So talk to me about this New England and New York Jets. There we go. I said it. Game, Evan, as far as wide receivers that you like.
Love Decker. Man, I mean, last week was a good week for me, but it could have been so much better if, Decker would have happened a little bit more, and if Michael Floyd would have happened a little bit more, and they were so close to happening. But, Decker's price hasn't really moved, and actually I think it went down a little bit, and on FanDuel. And this is a game where you have a lot of data points pointing at him. You have the fact that he plays in the slot. The Patriots lost their number 2 corner, Terrell Brown, for the season. We'll probably see Malcolm Butler on Brandon Marshall. Not that Malcolm Butler is a shutdown corner or anything, but that's where we'll see the Patriots' number 1 corner. And then they'll be just kind of mixing and matching against Decker. The game flow projects to work in Decker's favor to where he could get garbage time stuff if that happens. We know where the ball is going to go in the Jets' passing offense. And if you think that it's going to go to Marshall and Decker, and if you think that this is a game where Fitzpatrick ends up throwing more than the Jets would like, this is a game where Decker could get 10 targets or more. And so I really like Eric Decker.
Especially if the Patriots try to take out the number 1 option in B. Marsh. I want to know, Davis, as far as the New England side, are we done with targeting New England right now as far as this week after last week? Everybody was on him. It seems like this week no one's really talking about him. Edelman wasn't even on the practice or the injury report because of his hand, and yet still no one's really talking about Brady, Edelman, your boy Gronkalicious. So your thoughts on the New England side this week?
Todos, I think, is hurt. That they made it seem like that abdomen injury wasn't very serious, but he played a bunch, but he seemed kind of out there for ornamentation. Basically, he was doing a lot of chip blocking. He was standing 5 feet behind Amendola on a bunch of those kind of out routes, and I think he still played a ton of snaps, but the biggest thing to me that suggests that he was dinged up was when the game was still in question and they ran a passing play down in the red zone. Blunt was in there. And, anyone who thinks Blunt is going to take this job or be the more valuable fantasy back, I think is wrong. But I think with how bad their offensive line is playing, I think that there's an air of unpredictability in their offense right now. About all is 8 Julian Edelman targets per week. But outside of that, they're having to do so many different things on offense that we haven't seen with them before that it's kind of hard to pin the tail on the donkey week to week.
I actually think that their approach will be pretty predictable this week, and they're not going to try to run the ball at all with LeGarrette Blount unless they get out to a big lead. And I think that they're going to get the ball out of Tom Brady's hands quickly, and I think it actually does set up well for Dion Lewis, and I think that Gronk eats big time. I think that Todd Bowles, defenses in Arizona were extremely vulnerable to the tight end. The Jets have not faced very many good tight ends so far this year, so they haven't given up a lot of production to the tight end, but it's a function of Todd Bowles' scheme because they blitz so much. And maybe perhaps the Jets won't blitz as much this week and they'll play more coverage, and they'll try to keep everything in front of them. But it's a staple of Todd Bowles' defense that they like to blitz, and that will leave open the middle of the field. And I think Gronk balls out. If we don't get clarity on the Gates Ladarius situation, I think Gronk is viable in cash, and I know that his last 2 games have not, people have been disappointed by them. But, especially with Darrelle Revis likely to be matched on Julian Edelman. Mike Clay went so far as to predict that Revis will shadow Edelman. And I don't know if that'll be the case, but I know that Revis will be on him a lot just based on where they line up offensively and defensively. But the ball's going to go to Gronk a lot in this game, and people are overlooking him. No. He was 4% owned in the Thursday Night Bomb on FanDuel. Gates was 30% owned. Okay, this is a good week to be on Gronk, man. This is recency bias driving down Gronk's ownership, and Gronk's gonna have a big game.
He is, and it's going to be the first week. It's going to be the first week this year I don't have him in cash.
Yeah, that's just a given. Whenever Davis is off Gronk, he's going to go off. But Tuttle's got the Gronk shirt, so I want to give him the floor as well because I think you can get to Gronk, but then you have to play Mettenberger, Tutskis.
No, you have to play Michael Floyd as your third wide receiver if you want to. If
Which
you want
is
to go
fine.
Freeman,
Which is
and Gronk.
fine.
Yeah, which is fine. Which is fine, and I have no problem with that. I'd read everything Silva says. I'm on board with. The one guy that I do want to point out to, guy mentioned in chat, Formatted Fire. And this is a guy I was on in some Thursday night contests from that game. It's a guy that the game flow people are gonna hate, and rightfully so. And it's from the same game. That's Chris Ivory. Patriots don't have a good run defense. Ivory's gonna get the rock at least in the first half a ton of times. He could get up to 15 carries in the first half alone. If he gets a little favorable game flow going in this situation, he's a guy that can eat. He could see his 25 to 30 carries, get a touchdown or two thrown in there. So he's a guy I really like in GPPs. I think he was. I locked him in on FanDuel on Thursday nights, and he was like a 2%, 3% owned guy. So he's a guy I like from that game if you want to go GPP, and he's really favorably priced on DraftKings actually as well. I think he's 5,800 there.
Yeah, and another one of those leverage plays as well. If everyone's going to be, I mean, you had like 50%, over 50% in a huge tournament that were on one player, and that was Devonta Freeman. So if Freeman does not do well, if he even gets like below double digits, if he gets 8 or 9 points, like doesn't score a touchdown or gets hurt or something, then potentially those leverage plays could definitely pay off. All right, let's go to a few more questions, and then we will get to tight end, and then pick a team, and then we'll be out of here. Tournament, Decker or Diggs, Davis?
Decker. Diggs is not even going to see starting work this week. I don't think with Charles Johnson.
I think he is. I think he
There were
is
mixed
going to
reports
see.
on that.
Yeah. So yesterday
It sounds like he is.
Yeah. Yesterday they kind of put the brakes on. Today they kind of put them off. But yeah, I think that Decker, regardless, is the play. Hat tip though to Davis for the Diggs play last week. I played him, and it worked out.
It's cool, man. My last minute swap was Adrian Peterson, Dwayne Harris for Diggs Foster, so things worked out pretty well for me.
Listen, fella. You've got only yourself to blame for this. I mean, you had Silva telling you it was a donkey play, not just Soccer Dave and Tuttle. So only yourself to blame for the Dwayne Harris take. All right. Robert Woods in a GPP for the early slate? Nah. But anybody else think that he's okay?
If you're really starving for action in that early game, go LaShawn McCoy, go Charles Clay. I just don't.
Do you like low volume possession receivers with EJ Manuel at quarterback in games with the lowest Vegas total of the week?
Yes.
Yes.
Nailed it.
Hey, I mean, maybe Robert Woods catches 6 balls for 54 yards, but not wave.
That's like a commercial right there. Do you like? Let's see. Thoughts on Kelsey Macklin this week, with Macklin returning to practice Friday and cleared to play Sunday. I know I had Macklin in Thursday contest. Other people did as well. I mean, not Macklin. I had Kelsey in Thursday contest with the assumption that Macklin probably wasn't going to play because yesterday he didn't practice with concussion. Evan, what's your thoughts there?
On Macklin?
Just the Macklin-Kelsey combo.
Just really not on that game very much at all, except for Le'Veon and some GPPs, because he's ridiculously low owned, relative to where he is usually. It's a good matchup for Macklin, and he's a good play in a season long league, and same with Kelsey. But I mean, I think that Macklin is going to play. Ed Werder reported that he was likely to play, and Ed Werder don't miss. So. But I mean, these guys probably aren't going to blow up.
Tuttle, it seems like the momentum has shifted from Kelsey to Ladarius Green with the two different news reports today.
I think that's fair. I think I'm still fine with the little Zeus action on Sunday. I have no problem with it against the Steelers. Their season-long stats are fine against tight ends, but when they've gotten hit, they've gotten blown up by both Gronk and then the Chargers tight ends. So I think there's potential there for a big game. Macklin coming back obviously hurts him a little bit, but you still have Jamal Charles' workload that you're looking to hand over somewhere. So there is still some red zone opportunities to be had. So I think he's still a fine play.
All right, let's go lightning round.
I don't know why the Chiefs are playing Sharkandrick West so much. Like, just give the ball to Niall Davis. Just give the ball to Niall Davis. I mean, maybe he'll only get you 3.5 yards a carry, but like you'll get first downs.
He's good, dude. Niall Davis.
Andy Reid is not a good coach. He's not a good coach.
All right, we're going to go lightning round because I didn't realize this, but we have a ton of questions. So let's go lightning round. Evan, you remember the rules for lightning round, right?
Yeah.
Lightning, not slow rolls of thunder. All right. Davis, rank John Brown, Decker, Crabtree, Moncrief for cash.
Moncrief, Decker, Brown, Crabtree. Easy.
Boom, nailed it. Tuttle, Crabtree, Diggs, or Snead in cash?
Crabtree.
Yep.
Evan, John Brown or Fitz this week? You can't say both.
If we know that Brown is playing and on Wednesday his hamstring tightened up, John Brown.
Okay, there you go. Diggs or Snead, Davis?
I have Snead in my own lineups currently.
Dan, Ivory or Latavius for DraftKings cash? You like both, so you have to choose.
Yeah, this is.
That's a bad question. That's a bad question.
Neither in cash, but Ivory if forced to choose.
All right. As far as the Gates news that we mentioned earlier, just that he has an MCL sprain, has not practiced at all this week, and I think the quote was, "This is new territory for him." Evan, why is Garcon not being touted this week? Guaranteed 8 targets and terrible pass defense. You're a Garcon guy, so I'll let you respond.
I mean, I like him. He's burned me a couple times, so I'm just like, I'm human and I get caught up in that a little bit. But I mean, on paper, it looks great. People should be on him. I think he's, on FanDuel, Decker is $100 more, and I'm on Decker, so you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm also on Crabtree, who's 5,900, Garcon 6,100, and Decker 6,200.
All right, we've got a few more questions. A reminder, if you guys will go to Spreecast, you can upvote what questions you like the most. Lots of Julio love. What about stacking him with Matt Ryan? I think a Matt Ryan stack with Julio against Tennessee this week is fine. Top kicker plays. Evan, you want to handle top kicker plays this week?
I mean, I have so much invested into Andrew Franks that if he doesn't hit, I'm going to need to borrow some money.
Franks and Catanzaro, who I am on. Dan, what about you?
Lambo's a good play at 4,700.
Anybody else, Davis?
The only kicker I know is Robbie Gould, and the Bears have a bye this week.
So you're just gonna randomly click.
I'm gonna click. Yeah, I'm just gonna be clicking. I play. Dude, he's averaging more fantasy points per game than like all the wide receivers. He has like 16 and 14 back to back. He's the nuts, dude.
He's as good as gold, man.
Dude,
well, this week,
dude, watching the games and being able to say Robbie solid gold to yourself is the pinnacle of daily fantasy. The pinnacle.
It is fun, but I don't know why we're talking about him this week. That would be fool's gold. If you
would
know
that
what
be
I'm saying.
Would that be Soleil Kitchen?
Would be Soleil, definitely. But then again, I have had 2 different weeks where I haven't had a kicker score more than 1 point. So kicker is kind of a crapshoot. But I do like Catanzaro, though, as a play. It would be a fun play on Monday night. especially if you only have exposure to one wide receiver from the Cardinals and no Carson Palmer. I think it would be a fun play. And I'm also down with the leverage play when everybody's on one offense to go with the kicker on FanDuel. All right, let's move on to tight end. And Tuttle, your thoughts on, we've talked about all the other tight ends seemingly, but we haven't really talked about Delanie Walker too much. Your thoughts on Delanie with Mettenberger this week?
Are you going to get the Ben Watson game out of Delanie Walker against the Falcons? Is that what we're shooting for?
If they just choose to leave him open the whole game like they did Watson.
He's a fine play. I think Anthony Amico posted in our chat for us Walker's splits with Mettenberger at the helm. He's averaging about 10 FanDuel points a game. And it's obviously a pretty small sample, only 8 games, but if you can get 10 points out of Delanie Walker for 5,500, do it all day.
Yeah, and the hope is there with Mettenberger, Evan, that he throws more downfield, including like a couple of seam routes to Delanie. That's what he kind of did last season.
He will. Mettenberger can ball, man. I don't know why. I mean, he's not like an elite franchise quarterback. He's not Tom Brady, but he'll move the offense against the Falcons. I really don't have any doubt about that.
David,
wow, John Brown, no practice. Whew.
Wow,
that's big, man. All that Mike Floyd, boy. Go on and get it.
You're gonna be disappointed when Larry Fitzgerald goes like we talked about. Drew Dinkmeyer has the guy who does not believe in Narrative Street believes that in blowout games they want to get Larry Fitzgerald as many yards and as many touches as possible. So
I actually with this new if John Brown is out, I think Mike Floyd might take the leap for me for top Arizona wide receiver to own. Right now I'm on Fitzgerald as the top Cardinal receiver to own, but I think if Brown's out, it might go down to Mike Floyd.
I do
because
want
of the expected uptick in his price.
I do want everyone to know that like the thing that Mike Floyd does is hurt people. He's a hurtful guy. Like he's just like he is super ready to be in the best spot ever and just play so bad. Like everyone remembers the game. Dude, the game against Philly last year, he had 0
last year was bad.
Points, bro. 0. Like I
remember.
You're still hanging on to. You're still hanging on to that, dude. That's like it factors into your analysis.
No,
Davis, you're having a bad show. You're having a bad show.
No, I'm just saying. Like I'm obviously gonna play him. I'm gonna play like I think for 3,200 on DraftKings he's in play anyways. But he dude, he can hurt you. I mean, everyone can hurt you. I'm having a bad year. Rob Gronkowski is not. He's just, dude. Gronk is Gronking me.
Gronk and J-Matt have not been our friends. But as far as this is what Davis does. It's like the emotional free roll. So in the case that Floyd does nothing on Sunday, because you just heard him say he's going to roster him.
Yeah,
he's just going to say, I knew it. I told you, blah, blah, blah. He's not good. So that's definitely going to happen. Davis, though, while we've got you, Greg Olsen, you talked about Cam Newton. I know that Evan's not on Olsen or Newton.
The reason that Cam is a difficult play this week and why he's not in contention for cash is that the Eagles have Michael Kendricks and other defenders who are very good against tight ends, so his top target is going to be taken away. Cam's really in play just because of his rushing prowess. The tight end that I'm actually looking at for a pivot in the event that Gates doesn't get a practice in, is not active. I like Ladarius Green, obviously. He's a great play. But I also think that Jordan Reed, he told the media he's 100%, he's ready to go. No Deshaun Jackson. He's had a ton of targets. He's had at least 14 DraftKings points in every single game. Jordan Reed, man.
Cool. All right. You guys ready to pick a team?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. Evan, you go first.
All right. So this is GPP, right? Let's. Can we not put Martavis Bryant in this one, please?
Yes, I promise. You have my word, buddy.
I want to make picks to block Davis. He's having such a bad show.
Oh, this is so tilting, dude. This is the first time I bet in
This is what
Kitchen's
soccer.
position. Yeah, this
Right.
is awful.
Yep. You're in Kitchen. Kitchen got away with saying "nuck," calling DeAndre Hopkins "nuck." That's how bad your show is right now. Is Kitchen got away with that?
I'm like 0 for 13 from the floor right now.
Keep shooting.
Shoot or shoot.
Okay. I'm going to just start off with Michael Floyd and open it up for everybody.
All right.
We can take whoever we want now.
I'll go AP.
If he burns us another, I mean, he's due. He's due. That's all.
He's
He is
due.
due.
All right, Kitchen.
That's all we need to
due.
know. He's due.
No, I'm
right.
taking Andrew Luck.
All right. I'll go Delanie.
Kitchen's gonna take nuck.
No,
I'll
I
take
couldn't
Delanie.
I couldn't leave the avenue open for Kitchen to take Mettenberger.
I was going to do it, so
I know.
you got your
I
wish.
Lock that.
Because we could have gone Gronk at the tight end position with Mettenberger in
No.
AP.
No,
But anyways,
gotta change
Go,
the
Evan.
process up, bro.
Okay, so let's not fade Gurley and let's just go Gurley.
Good idea.
Tuttle.
Oh man.
Oh man. Oh man.
I gotta see it. So let's. I gotta
6,100
see
left.
what I'm
first
working
spot.
with here. What happens if
The
I throw
luck
a-
play with AP limits us.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, it's like the same thing as
You
playing
guys
Freeman.
want? Let's pair luck. You guys want Hilton or Moncrief?
Creeve.
Moncrief.
Yeah,
We
Creeve.
went
Creef,
Hilton
let's
in
do
the
Creef.
other one, so let's go Creef.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, I'll just
Oh,
take,
you guys. Oh, you guys are actually playing that lineup we used before.
dude, I'm playing it.
If we go,
I'm gonna be heavy
if
on
we-
Cam in tournaments. If I think Cam is like 5%, I'm gonna be pretty heavy on him.
okay, if
I'm taking the
if you
Rams.
went Rams, okay, you're going Rams.
Yeah.
All right, so
You
if
got
we
it.
went Franks, that would open up 8,900, which really doesn't do much.
I
There
mean, we
we've got,
don't have Freeman, so we need Julio, right?
Yeah, that's why I think we might
so
have
we
to
gotta
go
go deep,
off the
deep.
Rams defense.
Or we could just go down
we go-
from we could go down from Peterson to Freeman and just do everyone's cash lineup.
But then you can't go. Well, you could go Julio and Hopkins. I mean, you go Freeman and Hopkins rather.
No, let's get Julio in there. Let's get some Julio exposure.
All right, so if we did that, we've got with the Mensal kicker, you got 4,300 left. That would limit your teams to Colts, Titans, Bucks, and Saints. Bucks would probably be the team that you would want in that case.
Yep, Kirk.
That means we have 4,800 for a kicker. So we could go Lambeau and get San Diego exposure there.
Yeah, that's fine.
Is that okay?
For me.
Yeah, and just hope that that Gates doesn't play and they stall in the red zone.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. He's going to go 7 for 7. So Luck, Peterson, Gurley, Floyd, Moncrief, Julio, Delanie, Lambeau, and Bucks. So
Not bad. Not bad.
The Bucks D is kind of ugly, but then again, like we've seen defenses that give up 28 points and still score double-digit fantasy points. So against Kirk Cousins, anything is possible. That's all I'll say. All right, guys, appreciate you checking in on the Swolecast for today, Week 7. Appreciate Evan Silva from rotoworld.com joining us. I've committed the Cardinals sin, and I have not read Evan's article yet, but it is a must-read for anyone that is playing daily fantasy. Evan, we need to get that on book on tape because I wanted to listen to it on my way to somewhere this morning.
I'd listen to Evan
all right.
whispering sweet nothings in my ear.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for having me on again, guys. I got to roll. Davis, do better next week.
Never. Never.
All right. So Evan has tilted Davis so much, but that's what we do. All right, guys, appreciate it. If you haven't already, we got NBA coming up. We got a lot of cool stuff happening. So a deluxe monthly subscription, it pays for everything, especially college football has been crushing, soccer has been crushing, and we already know the NFL product has done good. So subscribe if you haven't already. We'll be back next week, and if you missed it or came in late, we'll have this on YouTube and iTunes later. I'm Soccer Dave, David Kitchen joining me, Davis, Dan, and Evan. We will see you later.